in real life. So make clean language. Hey, everybody, we're live.
Okay, I'm ready.
Hey, I can hear India.
Say hi to everybody, because everybody's here. They see y'all in real life.
Advertise or receive your free copy, call 716-688-3882.
Serving Orchard Park, Lackawanna, Cheektowaga, Amherst, Buffalo. We are the legendary Mix 1080 WUFO and Power 96.5.
Locally, nationally, it's Conversation with Jim Anderson. And now, your host,
Which middle?
Anderson.
Turn off the TV
Good morning, Buffalo. We're here today with a great show. While our guests are still getting in the last minute before we start, I wanted to take a second to explain a little bit about what I do. I know it's about my 7th week on the show. My name is Austin Martin, but many of you guys may not know what I do. Outside of the show, I'm a speaker. I focus on teaching communicational skills to young people. I feel like it's important to equip the younger generation with the skills that we need to be effective adults. And we now know what happens when you have a society full of adults who can't have a difficult conversation. Important issues don't get brought up and things don't change. And so wanting to create the world that I want to see tomorrow, I feel the best way I can do that is through teaching kids communication. I do keynotes, I do trainings. I'm working on getting into my first school. But I want to say this advertising because I'm young and I'm hungry, and I recognize that having the heart, having the passion doesn't pay the bills. So I'm looking for opportunities. I'm putting it out in the air. If you want to reach out and take a quick 15-minute discovery session, you can contact me at my website at www.austinvaughnmartin.com. That's AUSTINVONMARTIN. So that is my website. I hope I can get in touch with you guys. Or if you guys need a young speaker to introduce you guys and you guys get in the office, you may know a person for the job. So without further ado,
moment.
Seize the
moment.
I love it.
Without further ado, I'm
Good
gonna
for
pass
you,
the
Austin.
mic. Thank you. Pass the mic to Jim Anderson, and I'll let him go ahead and introduce himself, and we'll get into the show.
Well, thank you. I'm loving that. Seize the moment, man. And you got it in the presence of some. This is the moment. This, hey, listen, community. You already heard Austin say some good things, but we got a show today because we got the front line of change. Needed change. You know what I'm talking about. And look, this election is a fierce one. So I'm just, want to keep it real. Not mad at nobody. There's choices to make, but there's some. The choice for them is just so radiant. It would be foolish for us to miss the opportunity. And by the way, before I get the mic back to Austin so he can continue with our guest, look, do I have to say anything about all the negative treatment that my guests have seen in many ways? I know you know. But see, it's not so much on them, it's on we the voters. See all the little tricks that go to keep us from hearing who are the candidates, all the ways of trying to block them out and fool us with photos of everybody but them is just a way of undermining us, the voters. It's not the candidate, it's undermining us, the voters. So I'm just gonna shut up and just want you to know we had a front line of change in here today. And back to you, Austin.
And recognizing that, I want to go ahead and get right into it and give these wonderful candidates a chance to explain their positions and the change that they want to see in Buffalo. I'm joined today by 3 great guests. I'm joined by Kathryn Franco, running for the University District. I'm joined by an Eve Shippens, running for the North District, and an India Walton, running for the Masten District. So without further ado, ladies, you have the floor. How are you guys doing today?
Well, it's the day before primary. I don't know, but my excitement is on level 100 plus. I'm just feeling really energized, really excited. People have a choice this year, and the choices are amazing, absolutely amazing.
True that.
I'm also very excited. Yeah, that's how we
It has been a whirlwind. I've been working full time till the end of the school year, which was Friday. So I'm kind of exhausted on top of it. Working full time and doing the campaign full time is a lot, but it's something I really feel passionately about. So it's also exciting, and I'm happy to be here, and I'm happy that tomorrow is coming tomorrow.
That's super exciting. I know it's a big day. You guys have been doing all the work to get prepared. So give you guys a chance to introduce yourselves a little deeper, get a little deeper into your positions and explaining just for the last minute voters who maybe were living under a rock. When they're coming out, a chance to really hear your position in a quick blurb. Starting with you, Kathryn. Can you go into some of the changes you want to see in Buffalo? You can go in as deep as you want.
Yeah, most definitely. Thank you. And you said maybe under a rock, but I think it was absolutely that there was some intentionality around the way that these races have been covered, and watching candidates who are coming out of grassroots campaigns and who really center us as the residents, us as the people that make this city work. We've seen an absolute sort of erasure and silencing of us, not only as women, but as these other candidates in these races. So I'm excited that you all had us on today to be able to share about the vision and the dreaming of Buffalo that I think we share a lot of. When I think about our neighborhoods, I think about housing as one of the number one things. For stable neighborhoods, we need to make sure that people are able to stay in their homes. For safe neighborhoods, we need to make sure that people are able to stay in their homes. And that means tenants and homeowners alike. So one of the big things that I want to do is the stolen money that is coming from the city tax auctions that the city has put into the general fund. I want to see that be turned into a housing fund that folks can apply to make repairs on their homes and that sort of thing. Again, keeping our homeowners, longtime and legacy homeowners in their home. I want to make sure that we are implementing proactive rental inspection, making sure that our properties and folks that want to be landlords, that those spaces are safe for tenants to live in. I know in my neighborhood, I've had 2 fires just around the corner from me. And both of those were in part because of safety issues in the home that were not caught, that our slumlord and out-of-town landlords were not taking care of. We need to make sure that we're safe in our homes and in our neighborhoods. And so for me, housing is a big thing, and it connects to so many other things. It connects to the way that we talk about public safety. It connects to the way in which we talk about education. It connects to all of these different things. And for me, if we are really going to be talking about investment into our communities, investment into our youth, into our elders, into those who make up what we are, then that means that we need to be thinking differently about these issues, really looking at them from the root cause and making sure that we are investing back into us. Because for me, I haven't seen that in the ways that could really transform us and make Buffalo the city and the place that I know that I've been dreaming of.
Right, and you talk about you can't have a city of good neighbors if you don't have houses to live in. And speaking of housing, we actually I've only been on the show for about 6-7 weeks now, but I got the pleasure to interview Miss India Walton before, and something she talked about heavily was housing. So Miss India Walton, would you like to go into your campaign and your some of your policies and your position, especially regarding housing and other issues?
Absolutely. I first want to thank you, Austin, for taking up the mantle, for being willing to push the boundary of what it means for media to cover progressive candidates who really want to do what's right for the community. Like thumbs up to you.
Appreciate it. Appreciate it.
We're familiar from Nickel, that like all of that, but like good for you, and I look forward to being able to create opportunities for you and people like you in the future. And I think that one of the most special things about myself, Kathryn, and Eve is that we're all on the same page. Because even though we see common council districts as little cities and little fiefdoms that have their own mayors, right? Like in Buffalo right now, every council district has its own leader. The three of us understand that we're legislating for the entire city.
That's right.
And the entire city has the same issues with affordable housing, and Kathryn alluded to the city stealing 3.6. I'm saying 3.5 because it's easier, but $3.6 million from homeowners that they foreclosed on, where they were supposed to give the equity that they had in their homes back to them, and they put it in the general fund, and poof, it's gone. And a part of our housing issue It's not that we don't have the resources. It's that we don't have the political will and we don't have the priorities right. It's plenty of money. We just haven't done it in the way that it's supposed to be done. So, you know, my background is in nonprofit affordable housing development. I've been involved with faith leaders in affordable housing development, but also making sure that we are able to stabilize community members who've been longtime homeowners to bring their houses up to code, and also to make sure that, like, I know people that's been paying $800 in rent for like 30 years.
Wow.
If you can pay rent, you can pay a mortgage,
Mhm.
right? And what we have not addressed is the fact that the banks and financial institutions have considered some of us unworthy
Hello.
of mortgages.
Hello.
And who's going to be the people who are going to push the issue? That's us. So I'm excited. I'm ready for tomorrow.
That's very exciting, and those changes you talk about are needed, right? That especially the exposure piece. I know personally, in my own personal experience, many people who are paying more than a mortgage are not a mortgage, but they don't know any better. And I'm too young. I don't have a house, so I can't really convince them yet. But once I get my little property, then we can talk. So moving on, lastly, but definitely not least, Miss Eve, would you like to talk a little bit about your position and what both unites you ladies, but also is special and different to you?
You know what? It's not that special and different. I actually live in the second poorest zip code in the city, the 14207. A lot of people are not aware of this. That's Black Rock, Riverside. And you see that in the housing. Both renters and homeowners cannot, like the houses are not kept up. It's actually a geo zone that was targeted by our national fuel company because we are using more than our fair share of fossil fuels to heat our homes because they're so energy inefficient. And I got a free boiler a couple of years ago because I didn't even have to show what my income was, none of those papers. It's just that they were trying to switch over from old equipment to high efficiency equipment because the use is so great in that zip code. So there are programs out there. Like sometimes people say that we're not being realistic. There's programs out there for lead abatement and there's and for lead education, and it's not being utilized. There are these programs for energy efficiency that are not being utilized. There are other programs that, again, it's so hard to get this information or the application process is difficult and there's no one there to assist you. I have a teacher friend of mine who lives in my district, and she went to Delavan Grider to get her applications for her home grants because there was nothing comparable in my district to help with housing.
That's on the other side of town.
That is on the other side of town. So she went from Riverside to the east side to get housing assistance because we did not have that information available in district for her. And this is like one of the things. It's not just, do we have these programs? We probably need more, but we have some programs that no one knows how to utilize or no one knows what's available. And when we see unhealthy, unsafe housing, this becomes a lead problem, which goes into our schools, makes education more expensive because we're investing a ton in special education services to teach kids how to cope with learning disabilities that they wouldn't have had if they weren't poisoned by their houses. And so we need to deal with that. We also know that lead is associated with also some behavior issues. So if we don't provide kids with safe, healthy housing when they're little, it becomes a big problem later for the child, for the family, and really for the community. And if we want to just talk about it in dollars and cents, it's a problem for the taxpayer because we pay more in the criminal justice system, in the medical system for people who are not put on the right start from the beginning.
So basically, we pay more when we are not investing into us first.
Exactly.
Exactly. And one of the things you said really resonated with me. And it's just about like people from Riverside and Black Rock seeking services on the east side, right? And even those agencies are underfunded, under capacity. You know, I talk to homeowners all the time and they're like, I applied for grants and loans 3 years ago. And my roof is caving in on me.
Right.
But they don't get the money is not getting out the door because we have, and I don't blame the orgs. These nonprofit organizations and faith-based organizations are doing the best they possibly can. What we have not done is we have not resourced them with the capacity to be able to process applications, to get money out of the door. And you have 3 women here who are awake at the wheel.
All right now.
I know they have a negative connotation at woke, but I'm sorry. For the last couple decades, we've had a bunch of people that have been asleep at the wheel, that have not been paying attention. We have had years of unfluorinated water. And when the story broke, no one seemed to know that it was a thing. And these are the people who are charged with protecting, supporting, and representing us, and they didn't even know.
I'm sorry. We saw this with the firefighters too. There was a story that broke about how outdated the equipment was. This is our firefighters. This is the people who keep us safe. And I'm sorry, if I was on the Common Council 24 years, I would have noticed whether I bought a fire truck.
And I think that the difference here that really differentiates us from our opponents and who we're running against is we are everyday working class Buffalonians, right? You have a teacher, you have a nurse, you have a social worker. We are so familiar with the issues because we are dealing with the issues day in and day out. We are working with folks who are dealing with the issues day in and day out. And for us, we are so committed to centering us as the residents because we see what happens when we don't. We see it show up in the schools. We see it show up in the hospitals. We see it show up in the clinics. All of these different places where we're seeing it show up, and in our neighborhoods and with our families. And so we are demanding that there's a different approach. We are demanding that we are taken seriously and acknowledged, because if we continue down this path, things will only get worse. We heard about this trickle effect of if we are not investing into us first, it is costing us more in the end. And it is not just costing us in dollars, it is costing us our lives. It is costing us our livelihoods. We are putting our children's futures at risk. We are putting our futures at risk. There is a true urgency in the moment that we are in right now. We cannot afford to wait any longer. We have seen what our council can do. We have seen what our elected leaders will do. They have been in office. They have had their time. And yet we still have issues around poverty. We still have a city that is segregated, completely poor, also racist. We have all of these issues where we still have almost half of our children living in poverty. What are we going to do? We cannot continue to make the same choices and expect different results. That's the definition of insanity. And so I'm really looking for people to want to invest in sort of us first, prevention, and making sure that we are centered always.
Well, I got to tell you, from my truth, from my witnessing, what I know, the three of you do represent the necessary change. And my appeal to the community is, look, the folks who are sitting in office been there far too long and gotten very comfortable. And that, they have schemed together to deny that we have people who are capable in our community. And what people need to think about, if it was your son or daughter running, you would want them to have an opportunity. Well, these three candidates more than opportunity. They're coming with a plan. They didn't just arrive. They've been out there in this moment of change. And honestly, community, it's time for us to wake up. It's time for us to do one for us, not because some system is saying, well, this is the flavor of the day. That's the problem. too much of the same old thing just keep you stuck in the same old thing.
Yeah.
It's time for us to make a change. I make an appeal that you come along, try something fresh. Try something that, you know, if young people had a real chance to vote, I'm telling you, they'll pick up a different beat. You know, don't be fooled by those who gather up young people and say, come run and look and do. That's okay. I'm not upset with that. But I'm speaking strong truth to you now, and I know many of you know it. The question, are you prepared to make that change? You know, come, let's go together into this new change. We got some candidates who deserve your vote.
And I would just add that, like, I know Eve because she and I were on the front lines together to keep Buffalo Public Schools from closing, right? Like, we were together keeping schools open in our neighborhoods. I know Kathryn from many things, but the most significant one was from the Niagara Coalition for Community Reinvestment, right? Holding banks accountable. These are people that I've done work with for many, many years. It's not that we saw that we were all running and said like, oh yeah, we might be able to work together and we're cool. No, it's been that we've been working together for years and years on similar issues, getting things done, doing the work. And what we've seen over the last 20, 30 years is not much has been done. There was a report that just came out that the Common Council ain't passed no legislation, one piece of legislation in 2023. The whole year, they passed one piece of legislation. And you know what it was? To give themselves raises. And the three of us have been working on legislation for the last decade and a half to keep schools open, to hold banks accountable, to provide affordable housing, to make sure our kids are well educated. That's the reason why I stand strong with these two women, is because that's what I know we're going to do on the council together. And I need people to stop with the status quo.
True.
They're not going to do it for you.
They're definitely not.
We are.
They haven't done it for you.
They have not.
Right? They've had the time and they've shown that they're not going to.
I need to step in with that one because I'm running against the councilman who has been on council longest of any of them. And he ran on term limits 24 years ago. And I say on the doors all the time, you know, give me a chance. If you want things to change, you need to vote for me. If you want 4 more years of the same, I guess vote for him.
Yeah.
And again, second poorest zip code in the city, 63% of our families that have kids under 5 live below the poverty line. That is almost double the city average.
Okay. We got a call coming in for you. We got a call coming in. Caller, you're on the air.
Always good day. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Great. Good day. Always good to hear good information. A couple of questions. They mentioned at the top of the thing about how when the city sells property after they foreclose on it, they've been keeping the money for themselves. Is there any way to retroactively look at that, to right the wrongs that is? Is there any way to look back at it and correct that? And the other thing is, to get rid of these fiefdom ideas, go back to common council districts, and go back to council members at large, so the citizens have some alternative to that one person who represents them. They have some alternative other than going to the mayor. So I was wondering what you think about those 2 or 3 ideas.
Yeah, I appreciate that. So I'm just going to say, I worked at the Western New York Law Center for the last 4 years, and we actually saw this coming on the table in 2019 about the city auction, that the city was going to start to take title to the properties. Before, what happened was the title would remain with the interested parties, typically the former homeowner, and that meant that whatever money was acquired at the auction, the excess that was owed in taxes would go to the interested parties, oftentimes the homeowners. This meant that they could now find new housing because they had lost their homes, that they could pay off medical debt, that they could help their students, their kids with education, so many different things that this money could be used for. And now, since the city takes title to it, we see that the city is entitled to those surplus funds. The Western New York Law Center has been doing a lot of work trying to work with the city to make this no longer how they operate, because it was a real benefit to people. And we actually saw the city come and step in with this title change once we saw the housing market really take off. So you were seeing the auction prices go into the 6 digits, and that's when the city said, this is money that we can acquire. I want to make sure that we as the residents are the beneficiaries of any of these changes that happen in our city, especially as people are struggling. We have not seen wages match with the housing market, match with any of those things. So people are being kept out of homes. And you may be wondering, why do they continue to talk about housing? Housing is such a stabilizer in people's lives. It allows people to be able to seek for and maintain good jobs. It allows for children to be in good schools. It allows for childcare to happen. It allows for access to potentially good, it is so many different things that housing does, in addition to making our neighborhoods safer. So when we talk about housing, it is because it is one of sort of the foundation items that then connects to so many other things that is really, really critical.
Yeah, my entire master's thesis was around how affordable housing impacts the social determinants of health. And at every single level, right? Like the thing that's missing is safe, affordable housing. And I keep saying that, like, when we talk about affordable housing, it doesn't mean low income. It means whether you make $30,000 or $300,000, you should not be paying more than 30% of your household income on housing, right? Like, housing is a human right. Everyone should be able to afford it. Everyone should live somewhere that's safe, where your children are not being poisoned by the paint in the pipes, in the water in your home, that you feel secure and that, you know, you live close enough to home to be able to get to a job place. So, you know, that's my thing. And I just really appreciate being able to have the support and run with people like Kathryn and Eve, who are so highly educated and have the same politics, right? But not because it's something that someone has told them that we should say. It's because of their experiential expertise and their knowledge. Kathryn is a social worker and has a master's in public health.
Dig it.
Eve is a teacher in environmental science. I am a registered nurse.
I was just sitting here thinking about the harmony of what the 3 of your Black backgrounds bring. And I'm like, so needed in this moment. Many people are trying to talk about things that come directly out of the background that you've been in, don't know nothing about it. And you can hear the blend of your Black background into the kind of policies that you've been pushing. And they blend across the level. Housing, teaching, health, man.
We are caregivers.
Hey, I'm telling you.
And it's incredible because I think that, you know, we have these different backgrounds, but part of it is like we are experts because we are also living it, right? And I think that that's one thing that gets discounted so often, is that the people in our neighborhoods and our communities are not acknowledged as the experts that they are, but they are dealing with the impacts of these issues day in and day out. And so they need to be acknowledged and consulted as the experts that they are when we are looking for the solutions for them.
We got a call, but before we go to the call, I know the last call I had a second part, which was about adding on.
Oh, we should have at large.
At large and stuff.
At large should come back.
And since it's not a contingency, this is one of the things that could have happened if we had real debate, real opportunity to hear all the voices, so we'll know where everybody stands. And the people got to start pushing for what do they want.
Let me tell you this.
But there were.
Because the thing that frustrates me the most, I talked to a person yesterday in university. Nope, the person is in Maston now, which is why I was talking to them. But they were in university, and they told me they were not going to vote because they were upset that they were moved out of the district. And I said, hey, we were looking for people who were being reapportioned, whatever the word is. Reapportioned. we were trying to find people who were reapportioned to speak out against it. If you choose to stay home, don't be mad at us that you didn't get what you wanted. But the most important part about this is to make your voice heard.
On that note, got to go to a break. When we come back, we pick it up there, and we're picking up on that caller we got. We'll be right back.
If you're passionate about making a difference and helping others, nursing may be the perfect career for you. At the University of
I'm okay. Look, you get warm in here, and I like it.
Can we open the door for like 5 seconds?
You can open that up. Yeah, you can leave the door open if you want.
Visit nursing.buffalo.edu to get started.
For nearly 100 years, folks have trusted Blue Star Medical to relieve pain and achieve almost any skin irritation.
Okay, this is still live.
Yeah, we're still live, so
I didn't know. Sorry. Great on my ringworm.
and so while we live, this is what happened in between breaks. You kind of exhale, you breathe a little bit. It's all live, all real, and this is how it goes.
Every day.
You can sign everything. You almost got prices you can afford.
You are doing amazing. It sounds brilliant.
My dog will be having a TV.
Yeah, that's what
It's a lot of knowledge in here, a lot of investment.
I'm telling you, I love it. I love it.
So much experience in the community.
All right, we get ready to go back.
When Stacey said that she
Okay, countdown.
I can't.
Hey, we're back, and you're listening to Conversations with Jim Anderson and Austin Martin, and our guest, Kathryn Franco from the University District, and Bill Walton from the Masten District, and Eve Shippens from the North District. And hey, look, this is the front line of change. You should be on the front line too. All you got to do is cast your vote for him if you haven't already cast your vote. So we're going back, and in the midst of the conversation, I forgot where we were. I know.
It's primary day tomorrow.
Oh, we got a caller.
We have a caller, and also like I want to shout out Austin.
Yes.
You are important to me. I hope that you stay in touch with me because I see you, and I see your heart, I see your passion, and I know what you want to do out here. So let's make sure that we stay in touch.
I will for sure. Caller, you should be on the air. Hello.
Good morning. How are you?
Good morning.
Can you hear me?
Yes, you're on. Fine.
Yes, we
Good
can,
morning.
Miss Justine. Good morning.
Oh, I'm not Miss Justine.
Oh, okay. You sound like her. Okay, go on. My bad.
No, that's not. You know who I am. You know who my voice is. But anyway, I was calling and stuff like that. And then the reason they need more women inside is women are more nurturing, and they sit and they think for all. Mm-hmm. Don't get me wrong now. Men, they're more or less on this politics. We're going to do this, we're going to do that. Women, they sit back and they analyze things. Mm-hmm. Just like, let's go all the way back to history. Cleopatra was really fierce. She had brothers, but look how she controlled Egypt and stuff like that. Look at Mary Talbot. Look at Oprah Winfrey. When you get women inside you, they're going to sit and think, well, this has to be done for the community. This has to be done for the community. Well, we need more education and stuff like that. We need to work on crime. We need to work on better housing. That is in us automatically. But on the not that they still don't think and feel, like we do. And look at April Basket. I get her name correct. Look at her. And look at Betty Jean Grant. And there was another one and stuff like that a while back though. But women are very strong, fierce.
We got you.
Over here, we have to be stronger because they were trying to put us down.
Nice.
And the more women they get inside there, just thinking like y'all, it'll be better.
We call her.
Oh, I'm not.
No, I just wanted to tell you, we got you, and I'm glad you shared that spirit and your insight and your views about it, and you also made our phone line start to light up. So
I always do that.
Dig it.
Me too. We got each other. This is my buddy, but I like to call
That's
And
right.
now, you better
Yeah,
tell it.
we got you. Thank you.
And so and support us and hold us accountable.
Yes.
Oh, I will, okay? Y'all have a good blessed day, okay?
You
Thank
too.
you.
Thank you. So, all right. Caller, you're on the air.
Hello, everyone, and good morning.
Good morning.
I would like for any one of the candidates, or either you, Jim, to explain. You briefly touched on it a little bit, but why isn't there a debate for the community to attend or be aware of and get a better understanding of the candidates and their issues, and also give the opportunity for the community to speak to the individual?
That's a
The other
great.
thing is that you could touch on. I want to just bring up my own observation. Someone who's has a strong pulse on the political climate here in my city. I've always had partaken in it very extensively, and so there is this strong sentiment in the community that they're not going to come out because of many of them are dissatisfied. I hear that also. I'm not voting. I just had a strong, deep conversation with someone just before I went to bed last night about how they're not going to vote. But they said that they weren't going to waste their vote. They're going to write their own name in. And they're not the only one. And so just saying that, don't be mad is who you want to be in there, who may represent your agenda is, don't get it, don't be mad. You got to say something else that would motivate the political climate right now, and those who are hesitant or feel that they're doing some sort of protest by not voting. You got to get them out there. You got to get a better message across to those who are reluctant to go out and vote.
You got that right. Caller, I want to thank you for sharing. I'm pushing you a little bit because the phone lines are lit, and we're going to try and get as many calls and try and get some more time back to our guests. So thank you for sharing that. It's just another log on the fire.
I just want to respond to that briefly. I have the support of Antoine Thompson. So we're riding through neighborhoods with loudspeakers, jumping out cars, talking to voters every single day, doing it old school. You know what I mean? And I think that the malaise that people have around voting is because you have not been represented. You've been wasting your vote on people who you vote for them. You haven't seen them since you voted.
Yep.
And I think that you have a slate of people right now that are committed to showing up and continuing to show up time after time, that have done the work, whether it was our job or not.
That's right.
People that have been volunteering their time, their energy, their effort, their love and care for this community. And that's what I want to see people support. Do not waste your vote. Don't stay home. Go out. Because what the opposition wants, what the status quo wants, what the people in power wants, the people that have created the conditions on the east side in Buffalo and in Riverside and in Black Rock, what they want is for you to stay home. Because that's how they stay in power. And that's how they tell us that the people's voices don't matter.
And I will just say, I'm so sorry, this last one. There were debates that were offered to the folks. And what we saw is that the folks who are in power right now, the incumbents, chose not to show up for us. They chose not to come. There was one that was held by community organizations and the Women League of Voters at the downtown library. None of the current incumbents came. None of those who are connected to the machine came. So you saw folks in North District like Eve and myself in University. We were unable to share our vision for Buffalo and our vision for our districts. There was also another forum where, again, we saw the incumbents not show up, which seems to be a theme for those who are currently in power.
Incumbents and people who think that they are.
I would like to touch on the whole need to vote.
We got you, caller.
And I've been talking to plenty of people out on doors, and I'm like, I understand why you're disenfranchised. Yep. I understand why you're not voting, because every single election, nothing changes. Yep. You go and you vote, nothing changes. And we're not establishment. We are workers, and we are representing everyday people in Buffalo. And local elections are where you have the most power.
And how?
When you vote for president, there's millions of votes cast. And so you're 1 out of a million, right? Or 1 out of 10 million. When you are voting in our districts, My district at most will have 1,300 people go out and vote, at most. So you're 1 out of 1,300 as opposed to 1 out of 10 million. So your voice does count. I expect in my election, I keep forecasting this, that the difference between my votes and his votes will be less than 100.
Caller, you're on the air. Caller, you're on.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Hey, family.
Hey, family. Good to hear from each of you and Jim on the fan of your show. I think most of you all recognize my voice. I was a former Buffalo resident and recent relocated resident in our sister city of Monroe. One of the things I've noticed is the difference between the two is the level of civil engagement from the residents here in Rochester versus in Buffalo. My question to the three of you is, if you all are fortunate enough to win your primary in the fall, win your general, what is your immediate plan to keep those that you've engaged on the campaign trail active throughout your entire tenure as council folks?
That's a great question, John. Thank you for calling in. I can't. My plan, and I'm gonna shout out Kathryn because she was like, I know that voice. But we're gonna have office in districts. We're going to engage block club leaders, and I think that a part of the gap that I see in Maston right now is like, I'm a homeowner, right? I bought a house. I'm a member of the Hamlin Park Homeowner Taxpayer Association, but like when you hear that name, the Homeowner and Taxpayer Association, if you rent, you don't feel welcome there. And 68% of the people that live in Maston District rent homes. So I want to do tenant organizing. I want to be visible. I'm going to have an in-district office. Like my intent is to be on the ground and really engage the people like how I do, right? Like, we have people right now in office who you barely see them.
Where they at?
I'm out here. I'm on the streets. I'm on the pavement. I'm on the ground every single day. Not only when it's election season, but I go get my Challenger and my Criterion from Mandela Market. Like I'm in district. I get my gas from there. You know what I'm saying? Like I patronize businesses in my community, and the thing that I'm looking forward to most is being a council person that is by the people and being held accountable to those people who I live next door to.
One thing that I need to add in my district that we don't see is district-wide stakeholder meetings. You do see that in some districts, and block clubs are interesting because there's not a public facing way to contact it.
There you go.
Okay, sorry about that. But like if you want to know what block club is in your area, I have to email somebody with my my name and my address and my contact information. They look up the block club registry, and then they send my information to the nearest block club, who then contacts me. So that's a lot of steps. And what if the block club leader is exclusionary, right? Do we know what's going on there? Like it's not transparent. And I'm sure most of them are really great people and are doing it for all the right reasons. But there should be some kind of list with a general email that I'm not saying give somebody's personal address or phone number, but the block club should have a public facing email, and it should say what area it covers, so I can just look up this list and send it out right away. Because why are some people getting information and not others? And this is also why we need district-wide stakeholder meetings. In my district, language is a big thing. So we have a lot of Spanish speakers, and we have a lot of an increasing Asian community that speaks multiple languages. So we can't just have meetings in English only and announcements about meetings in English only. We have to have language access. The Buffalo Public Schools is ahead of the city on this, and we need to be partnering with them on how to figure out this language access thing so that we can make sure that everyone in the community is served.
And I wanna touch on that. I'm in communications and I focus on the younger perspective like we talked about. And one of the big common issues that I'm hearing from all you guys talk about is information. It's too difficult. It's too redundant. The processes in place are too difficult for citizens to get the information. Like we talk about resources. Resources is after information, because if we don't know about these programs, we don't know about these grants, we don't know about this money that's going missing or that's out there, how we are supposed to fight and get it. So can I ask you guys, as people that are getting into these positions, right? We're not going to say maybe, we're going to say getting in. When you get in, what things can you do, or what ideas can you have, or changes can you make so that as a resident, regardless of what district I'm in, I can feel like I'm a part of a city because I know what's going on. A newspaper isn't as popular as it used to be, right? It's not as popular as it used to be, especially with the younger people. I know social media is a big thing, but are there any ideas you guys have? Because all the things you guys are talking about, it's like I'm in here learning for the first time. I don't know any of these things. I've lived here my whole life. So I don't know, I'm missing a bunch of crucial things, and I'm young. And so if we look at the information discrepancy, the information disparity as I get older, I can only imagine that it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. So when you're talking about residents in these communities, how can we get them information before we can even get them resources? How can we just get them informed on what's going on and what they should be moving and looking for?
Before they answer, can I just say they represent that change. The same way that you didn't know, and there seems to be nobody saying anything about it. This is the change they represent.
Yeah.
Having an informed electorate, having an informed community, having an involved community on everything, not just hearing words, but even on the accounting for money.
Yep.
You know, the participatory budgeting. Yes. What? Let the people have something to say with that. Making sure the monies are going to the right places. Don't get tricked by people saying, oh, defund. Oh, they're not talking about defund. They said, let's be honest with the money and get it where it's needed. Not on programs that are going off the cliff, but on programs that serve the people, improving the work. These are those that are going to make sure we get them.
I would like to say that one of the big things I talk about is creating a city database of programs, the federal, state, county, local programs that are available to residents, and also the community-based organizations that are in Buffalo that are helping residents on a regular basis. It should be a database that is searchable by anyone, but also every single council office should be a phone call away. You should be able to say, hey, I'm having a family member experiencing a mental health crisis. Can you refer me to help? And so if you don't have access, and again, as a Buffalo public school teacher, I saw how little access when we went out on COVID. First, we had to feed all the kids and families. Then we had to buy them all computers. And then we had to buy them all internet. So most of our families do not have this access. And Googling on your smartphone is not the same. And we don't have this availability in our libraries. Not everyone is walkable to their library because we have less and less libraries and less computer capacity in them.
In our district.
So
you don't have one either?
No, the library that we have is at UB on South Campus.
Holy crap.
Yep.
So there,
sorry, Eve.
2 of the blackest districts in the city don't have public libraries. Mark Polenkars, April Baskin, Howard Johnson. We're going to talk on Wednesday.
Yeah, so I mean, I just feel like for people with learning disabilities, for people who are older and not as good on computer capacity, people with language barriers, and also people who just don't have access to computer services should be able to call their council office and get referrals. This isn't a hard thing, and there's tons of community-based organizations that work with all these different things. I'm a volunteer with the National Association for Mental Illness, and I'm a family support group facilitator, and I teach the family-to-family class. Guess what? Nobody in Buffalo knows this exists.
Right.
And I think that that's the difference here. I don't know about you all, although I am assuming because of the roles that we have in our professions, I've done referrals in the past as a social worker, making sure that people have access to food, making sure that people have access to mental health services, making sure that people have access to different programs and that sort of thing. It is just something that was built into my profession to make sure to know who the other players are and who is doing the work so that I'm not having to be inefficient or recreate the wheel, but supporting the organizations that are already doing this work in the communities. And this goes back to the caller that we just had asking about, like, what are we going to do to make sure that we continue to keep folks engaged? And then also your question about, like, how do we get people this access to the information? Part of it means that we are going to be doing a variety of things. Right now, what we see is sort of these singular modes of trying to access folks and get this information out. And again, it is not working. You know, I plan to have the website to be able to help create this sort of citywide database so that the folks can go to a website and go find it, that it's going to be on social media, that we're sending things out in mailers, that we do have a newsletter that goes out in our district and that talks about programs and services that are available if you have these issues, but also talks about the legislation and projects that are coming up in our city and in our district that will impact people and how it may. And these are the ways to get involved, to either say yay, say nay, that sort of thing. You have to be doing multiple things because you are not going to get everybody by doing one thing. Because again, we're talking about the issues are intersectional, the issues overlap with one another. So do sort of the way that our lives work. You know, we are not singular in our lives. There's overlap in so many ways. And so we essentially are going to be outreach workers. That's what I like it as, you know? So yeah.
I think it's so serendipitous that when I talk about my time as a school nurse, right, like the people that I worked with the most and the most effectively were teachers and social workers, right? Right, like I'm the nurse, and I had babies, and I tell the story all the time that were coming to me not because they had like necessarily like physical health problems. They needed an asthma care plan. They were housing insecure. They were acting up in the classroom. And I was like the bridge that helped bring the services together to get them in between education and community services to get them back on track. And that's why I'm so excited about the candidacy of the three of us, right? Like a teacher, a nurse, and a social worker run into City Hall. But walking in City Hall, like, what does that look like for people? For three women, right? After more than 10 years of not having any sort of feminine leadership. The reason why we say we're trying to create a culture of care is because that's exactly what we're trying to do. Care for the community, not care for developers, not care for wealthy, rich donors to campaigns, care for the people
that make
who actually keep this city running.
Yep.
And that includes the workers in City Hall. DPW, I can't tell you how many departments I go to and people are working so hard. They do a great job. They really do. And I'm not talking about administrative people and people that got appointments. I'm talking about like the workers who come on their 9 to 5s. DPW, sanitation, all of those people. I was just lamenting. Oh, there's a phone call. I'll shut it now. Thank you. Sorry.
I didn't know how you was on the roll. I was trying to let
Thanks
you go.
for stopping me.
I was trying to let you go, but caller, you are on the air. Hello?
Hello? My question is, this is the primary. Like, I hope people come out for the primary. Sometimes they don't. But if by chance you aren't successful in the primary, you have a plan to keep the momentum that you're going to keep, the good momentum that you have going, to keep it going beyond the primary. You have a plan for after the primary.
I love that you say this because a lot of people don't realize that the primary is where we get to make our choice. This is where we get to choose who we want to see show up in the November election. So this is where we actually get to choose. And I feel really grateful. I actually have been endorsed by the Working Families Party. So there is a line for November. So you will see my name in June, Kathryn Franco. And you will also see my name in November. Once again, Kathryn Franco. So I'm very, very excited about it. Not only that, though, this is work that has never stopped for me because it is a through line. It is part of who I am. I have always been sort of in service to others, no matter what I've been doing, whether it's been being a social worker, whether it's been being a substitute teacher in Buffalo Public Schools, whether it's been working with folks around HIV/AIDS. I mean, there is a length of sort of history and diversity in the work that I've done, but it has always been in service to others. So you have options.
I am also going to be on the November ballot, no matter the outcome of the primary, because I am also on the Working Families Party line. So although I live in the second most conservative district in the city, and so it will be quite a challenge if I don't win the Democratic primary. So it is essential that all Democrats in North District who want to change, who want a teacher and a caregiver in that position, to come out and vote for me tomorrow, June 27th, because once we go to November, if I'm not the Democrat, it will be quite an uphill battle.
For sure. This is India speaking to you, and similar to 2021, I had challenges with ballot access because, you know, the third party in this state and in this city is not well received. So I will not be on the Working Families Party line in November. However, I am a Working Families Party endorsed candidate. I have the full backing of the party, and I'm a lifelong Democrat. No matter what anyone says, I've voted on the D line my entire life. And I hope that you will vote for me also. But for me, this race ends tomorrow. So if you want change, if you want something better, I won't even say different, because different ain't always better, y'all. Mm-hmm. If you want something better than what you received for the last 16, 30 years, then come out and vote for me. I'm the first person on the ballot. I'm in pole position. I've been out here in these streets, on your doors, on your phones. You know who I am, and you know that I'm going to work for you. I'm going to work for us. I got skin in this game. So, yep, go out. Vote on Tuesday for me, India Walton-Masten District.
That's great to hear. And it's so great to hear the positions and changes you guys want to make in Buffalo, and I'm excited. We have a minute left, so I'm going to hurry up and get myself out the way. But is there anything you guys would like to leave the listeners with before you guys get into the exciting day tomorrow? Any last remarks, any last words, just anything at all?
Yeah.
I'll start first. Sorry, Kathryn. Listen, because I won the primary in 2021 and then was defeated by a write-in campaign, which I believe was a sham, but we can talk about that later. Do not rest on our laurels. Don't believe that other people are going to get out and speak for you. Go to the polls. Vote. Vote for Kathryn-University. Vote for Shippens-North. Vote for me in Masten District. Do not believe that it's sold up because you heard radio ads, you've seen the Challenger, or you've seen newspaper articles. Don't believe that the race is already won. Every single vote counts. In 2019, maybe I might be getting the year wrong, Sharon Beltman-Cottman lost by 16 votes. It's that slim of a margin. Go to the polls. Thank you.
Anything else before we leave?
I just would like to really tell people to vote your values. And I think that there is a sharp contrast between myself, Democrat, Working Families Party, and the incumbent Democrat and Conservative Party. And we really need to really vote our values, because if you want change, if you want something better, if you want something different and good, you need to vote for me and India and Kathryn.
Yeah. So echoing that, my opponent has said how he has shown up in the last 4 years. He's been in office for 9. And so I plan to show up on day 1, not in year 5. So you can go out and vote Kathryn Franco for University District, and definitely India and Eve.
Hey, thank you all. You know what to do. Show up. We got this. If
it's tomorrow.
You show up. We got this. Have a great day, and we're out of here. Peace and love.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank y'all.
Hot as Hades in this joint.
That was so good. It was so hard to reach you. Your energy
Actually,
is amazing.
it's super interesting.